Hello, spiritual warriors. I recently rewatched the original Matrix movie from the early 2000s, and wow, like, what an analogy that is, and the parallel, in my mind, between the trauma that I survived, and a lot of us have survived similar things, okay? Even if it wasn't as spiritual as a flavor as I went through, a lot of us as kids, very young kids even, were repetitively programmed essentially with very toxic messages. For me, it was things like, you're evil, there's a demon in you, you're going to hell, and no one will ever love you. Okay, these were the things that I was told repetitively when I was surviving ritualistic abuse as a child. Horrible things. A child should never have to hear those things. Some of us may not have had the same flavor, but it's still just as damaging in terms of the messaging, okay? In terms of the just, don't believe in yourself, you'll never get there, you'll never achieve anything, you're no good, that type of stuff. It can be just as damaging, okay? This is all toxic messaging, and it's a form of abuse. And the movie, The Matrix, with this analogy of like, first Neo gets found by Morpheus, right? He gets unplugged from the Matrix. He has to go through the shock of waking up to reality and accepting that this is the lie that he's been spoon-fed for years. And he was a prisoner of his own mind for years. In a weirdly familiar way, the lie was home, but it was still a prison. It was still a gilded cage. But he always sensed there was more, okay? Even though waking up was a shock. 2, after he adjusts to reality and the fact that there was more to reality, that he was right, that he didn't have to stay a prisoner, then all the shipmates are like, no, dude, like, just, you run from the Smiths, you do what we do, be afraid, be very afraid, right? Don't go there, don't engage, right? Run, you can't fight them, you can't win. And he gets told by the Oracle that he's not the one. So he has to go through this process of like, oh man, like, I guess I'm not the one. I guess there's no future for me except to just run from these things that are more powerful than me, from these things that can defeat me and kill me and yada yada. And it kind of buys into this belief of like, there isn't, another way to live other than just running from these machines, right? But then the choice comes when, the prophecy happens and he has to actually face the choice between his life and Morpheus. Morpheus tries to save him and sacrifice himself for him, but he says, no, I'm not going to believe it. And he literally chooses not to believe in the like rock and hard place, stuck place that he's in, right? He chooses to see a third way. And this is very much like the Enneagram teaching of Onami, my business coach. And a lot of times you'll hear her talking about if you ever feel stuck between making one choice or another, you can make the triangle mudra and ask yourself, show me a third way. And this is a lot of times you'll see me doing the triangle mudra, because there's always a third way in every situation. And this is exactly what Neo does, is he looks for a third way and he makes the choice. Nobody tells him to do it. Nobody tells him what the choice is. Nobody tells him he's the one. He actually gets all these messages otherwise. And he's faced with this like, okay, Morpheus might die, and like, he's just rock and a hard place, but he's the one who has to choose the third way. He's the one who has to face the fact that he can create another reality, essentially like another destiny, his own destiny. He goes back in the Matrix and he doesn't just face the Smiths. He doesn't just face them. He doesn't just stand his ground. He actually runs and merges into the Smith. Okay, like, I'm giving a lot of spoilers here, so, but if you haven't seen it by now, you've got to watch it, okay? You've got to watch this. One of the best movies ever made. He literally runs into the Smith and absorbs the Smith and then bursts out. And he's even more powerful when he does this. And what's the analogy here? This is like all those dark things that we were told as kids, all those self-limiting lies that we were fed, programmed with, abused with, that created these self-perpetuating prophecies, right? Those unhealthy patterns, the lies, the ways we continue to abuse ourselves. Okay, I've been through this. Okay, I have been through this. The ways we continue to be like, no, I'm just going to stay in the familiar. I don't want to grow, right? It's uncomfortable to grow. All these like self-perpetuated lies. Like the gradual process of waking up from, and not just waking up from, but facing them, and then not just facing them, but actually diving into the darkest parts of our own subconscious mind. And I didn't just I didn't go in and delete the programming when I was processing and reprogramming myself, okay, spiritual warriors, because that's what I had to do from this ritualistic abuse I survived on a repetitive basis as a child. I didn't just have to deprogram myself. I chose to actually save the programs and rewrite them and repurpose them towards the temple of becoming, okay? Well, many other things in my life. You know, I've used this energy in multiple ways, but the temple is a creation that comes from this exact programming and all these negative toxic things that becomes like the dung that the lotus can then grow from, okay? It becomes like the fertilizer. And now we offer at the temple three powerful offerings: content, services, and mentorship. Content, services, and mentorship. The content is all, from my own words, all kinds of content about ancient, esoteric, yogic, spiritual practices, ancient myths and stories and systems that they serve a purpose of helping initiates, essentially, face some of the darkest parts of themselves, okay? These are things told in my own words, okay? The things that have helped me to claw myself out of some of the darkest pits, okay, that I've ever had to face. And these are things that are not meant for the public. That's why they're in the temple, only available for paying members at very low monthly rates. Okay, you can check it out at templeofbecoming.com. 2, the services, ritual services. We offer the Ritual of the Golden Chain, and we offer the Norse Negatively Polarizing Service. Again, these are some of from the energy, right, that I had to contain for years, these programs, these toxic things that I had to hold on to until I was old enough to actually process them and understand what I went through. The ritualistic abuse that I survived, okay, as a child, I was able to actually reprocess that, alchemize that, and pour that same energy into something that now serves a very helpful, beneficial, supportive, empowering purpose for spiritual warriors like yourself who are ready to face these things, and not just face them, but alchemize them in yourself and do the work, okay? Onami, my business coach, would say, do the work, get the results, okay? That's what we are here to do. 3, mentorship. I have very limited availability, but I am now offering mentorships for a select few spiritual warriors, okay, that I can take on. Because remember, I have a full-time job that I love. I have no plans of leaving my full-time job right now, okay? I love what I do, but I do have the space and the calling to take on a couple of mentees who are right for the program. This isn't about me, okay? It's not like you go in the temple and, you know, you meet the priest and I'm this priest telling you what to do. No. Okay, this is about creating a space where I simply hold a container that's safe, supportive, and non-judgmental and confidential, where you can get the support you need from these different offerings, okay? The mentorship is, of course, a much more intimate offering that's much more one-on-one time with me, all right? The content, you can consume the content anytime, very low monthly rate. The ritual services, same deal. If you sign up for the second level up of the membership in the temple, you can access both of the ritual services. It's included, okay, with the membership from second level up. But the mentorships are much more exclusive, okay? So check that out there. If you have questions, you can always message us on templeofbecoming.com. That goes directly to me. You can text us at the temple if you have questions, or if you're just like, hey, this is where I'm at, I don't know what's right for me, you can reach out and we will give you a personalized recommendation, and that text goes directly to me. That's just between us, okay? It's just confidential with the temple. What else do I want to say? Yes, so with this analogy of the Smiths, okay, the Neo facing the Smiths, and not just facing them, not just standing his ground, but actually going into them and mining the gold there, and actually taking that and saying, this is what he did it's an analogy of the movie, right? But just go with me there. Going into them and saying to himself, like, I'm going to figure out this matrix. I'm going to figure out what this code is. If everything is just code, everything is essentially just something that's in my own mind, why would I stand in fear of that and run and all this, bend over backwards to stay away from that? Why not just go directly into that and face it head on and learn to decode this matrix? Ultimately, it's just ones and zeros. Ultimately, it's all just the source energy. It's all energy. It's how we use it that defines our character. Peace.